Well, hello, veterans, decade VA employees, and everybody watching here at the Veteran Lane YouTube channel. Well, welcome back if you've been here before, and if this is your first time, welcome for your first time. I'm glad you found us. With so many people out there educating and trying to improve the system, I'm glad you found us as well. I'm your friendly VA accredited attorney, Matthew Lang, here to talk about more VA disability. This platform, we make an educational platform. I don't give advice on this platform to avoid crossing any ethical lines and some other duties that I have as an attorney. But you're always welcome, if you want to talk about your case and potential representation, to go to veteranlane.com to schedule some time with me. And we can either do it over a phone call, or if you're in the local area here in Surprise, Arizona, we can always sit down and chat as well. 2025. Wow. Last video for 2025. We made it a year already. How was everybody's year? I hope it was good. This year for us did pretty well. We helped a lot of veterans, and we're continuing to help veterans, and that's the ultimate mission we have back here. It's really the goal and desire I have is to help veterans and provide affordable legal assistance in the VA claims. Yes, you can do it for free yourself, or you can get a VSO, Veteran Service Officer, who can do it for free for you as well. However, we are an option here as a VA accredited attorney to help you with those, just that the rules require me to charge you. So do know, ultimately, we're here to help, and we look forward to helping more veterans come the new year. So let's reflect a little bit on the year. There's been a lot in the news, OIG reports. The House of Representatives has made some movement and a proposal here that I want to share that comes to an issue about VA disability and just VA benefits in general. That is the issue of fraud. I think fraud for us in this situation, in this environment for VA disability, definitely provides a challenge. And while every program out there, I feel, provides some sort of challenge inside or out, including a fraud-based challenge, it is a challenge that we must get past, we must get through in order to help make this process smoother, is our goal. So I want to talk about it here in our last video for the year together, and just talk about some of the stuff that's happened during 2025 when it comes to this type of stuff here. I'll also go into the bill and kind of what's proposed out there by the House and the Veterans Committee, their House Committee, and give you a little insight into what that looks like and what our government is trying to do to prevent some of this fraud. So let's talk about some notable cases really quick. We got a case here on my sheet, May 21st, 2025. A federal grand jury in San Juan, Puerto Rico indicted 10 individuals, including a VA employee, for defrauding the government to obtain VA disability benefits. The VA employee has supervised VA claims processors. So this is a supervisor from the VA, unfortunately, who allegedly abused his access to the Veterans Benefits Management System, which is VBMS. That's the paperless system that is used by the VA, for those who may not be aware, to steer certain veterans' claims to sympathetic reviewers. So when we think about what's going on internally here, for anybody who doesn't know, and veterans if you don't know, the national work queue system that was designed and set up leaves it where all these claims are pushed down through the computer system, say from Washington, DC, and they land in the office's lap, we can say. Now, there's supposed to be, what I was familiar with, rules that would move these claims to individuals, and there's always a community pot at the time from when I worked there. And when I was a supervisor, there would be times where we'd have to be moving those claims around for when people were, say, out sick, maybe they were on vacation, something didn't work right in the system, they got to be manually moved. But the point here is that the supervisor has that ability and that authority that no one else has below them to make those claims move into certain specific, work queues, as it's called, to each individual employee. So it sounds like that's what this supervisor was doing in the VA, is they're moving claims, specific claims, directly to those employees. It says here that the VA employee had worked with another individual to coach veterans on what false medical conditions to claim in order to secure inflated disability ratings. So in exchange for facilitating these fraudulent claims, the VA employee and those others involved charged veterans cash fees and took a portion of any retroactive benefit. So veterans, they stole money from you in the process. And I think it's easy to fall into this realm because I hear some other veterans do it too. Well, I got this buddy that works in the VA, or I know somebody who works in the VA and they tell me this. While that may be great and they may be honestly wanting to help, we must understand a bunch of other rules in there that we won't get into great detail here today with this video, is that those employees have a fiduciary duty to the government, not to you veterans. So they are not supposed to be walking both sides of the fence, and they have to be very careful as they walk in the gray lines. But it was very clear here from what I've read so far that this individual has been indicted is not walking in the gray area, but completely over the fence here, taking money from veterans, ultimately to, well, get them granted on false claims. Now, it's not the only thing that was happening over 2025. I got another one here that's actually really recent in November of 2025 here. This is a former VA claims reviewer from California, was indicted for running a criminal scheme to help veterans fraudulently obtain VA disability benefits in exchange for kickbacks. So according to a 33-count indictment, since 2020, this employee had been instructing veterans to submit exaggerated or false claims. And you would guess it from the first one, just like the first one here, this VA employee as well had met with veterans, took cash payment in order to get them granted for, well, these exaggerated false claims. Veterans, as somebody who's worked on the inside, this I find disturbing quite often. I find it disturbing even working on the outside, being an attorney as well. I find it disturbing being a veteran. Heck, I find it disturbing altogether. And I think what really bothers me the most, as I'm going to give you my opinion here from my experience and my professional opinion, is that I remember being on the inside of the system. I wanted to help veterans. That's why I worked on the inside of the system. But there are still laws in place where these employees should not be overstepping and taking money from you. They, again, are fiduciary to the government. And it's very discouraging to see that ultimately what I feel like we have here just from the first two showings of these cases is that it's easy for them to deny you and then make you promises that they can grant you if you pay them. And I'm afraid that's what that's going to turn into. So be careful of that. If you're not working with an accredited VA representative, VSO, accredited agent, or accredited attorney, you're probably in the wrong spot and you're risking working with somebody, well, unfortunately like this. And that's just my opinion. Work with who you desire, veterans, but I would definitely caution you, even when it comes to getting help from where you think you're getting help at on the inside. We also have, but no, don't get me wrong. It doesn't happen just on the inside here. We also have a case here out of Minnesota back in also around November 2025 here, according to my notes, where a Minnesota man was convicted in 2025 of an egregious stolen valor scheme. So the stolen valor is real and it does get prosecuted, even though it may not feel like it for some sometimes. When I talk to individuals, I think there's some concern there, but it does get prosecuted. So this scheme in which the man posed as a wounded Marine to steal veterans' benefits. He was found guilty by a federal jury on November 21, 2025 of wire fraud, mail fraud, making false statements, and fraudulent use of military medals. So for years, this individual pretended to be a decorated U.S. Marine, but he had never served in any branch of the armed forces at all. And I'm not sure how he was able to get away with it, but he was able to file a claim with the VA. The VA believed he was a veteran, apparently believed he served in the service, which I ultimately got him paid benefits, which he should have never received since he was never a member of the military. What else we got here? We got we got plenty of cases here. We've also have here's one out of Florida. Florida veterans false PTSD claims. Looks like this one here. Let me do this. In January 2025, an Army veteran in Florida was sentenced to federal prison for a long-running disability fraud. This individual pleaded guilty and was sentenced on January 13th, 2025 to 33 months in prison for defrauding the government benefit programs of over $779,000 over nearly 14 years. This individual had fabricated documents and lied about service-related injuries to obtain disability payments, falsely claiming that he suffered from severe PTSD that left him unable to work or perform daily activities. He even asserted that he had been awarded a Purple Heart to bolster his fraudulent claims of combat injuries. In reality, his condition was not as debilitating as he claimed, but by repeatedly misrepresenting his health and military record, this individual collected VA disability compensation to which he was not entitled. There's plenty more to these cases, but I just want to let everybody see that this is what's going on out there, inside and outside of the system. We face this challenge, and then we really need to find a way at some point, and whatever that solution may be, I unfortunately don't know, to hammer down on this stuff and get it out of our system so we can make the system smoother. So veterans, keep in mind that fabrication of documents is definitely not a good thing. I won't do it back here, and if I feel you are, I will drop representation very quickly. I haven't met a veteran who I believe has fabricated any evidence, and I think that's great. So there's just these onesies or twosies and some of these outliers out there. And also remember, VA employees, no matter how much they want to help, they still have a line they can't cross, and especially taking your money from you to hold your claim hostage like that. Now, there's not just this stuff here, out here from the court cases and everything that are going on. I've got plenty here on the list, and I don't want to bore you too much with all this stuff. But I'd go out there. If you haven't, go check out the news, kind of see what's all in the court cases here. Maybe check some of the district court filings and kind of read through stuff. But there's another spot here where we see some things come up, and that's the VA's OIG, the Office of Inspector General, over the years. Now, in 2025, there's been actually a handful of potential fraudulent activity here that we need to focus in on. They do report in Huntington, West Virginia Regional Office, a Veterans Service Representative of VSR unlawfully received $25,000 from 13 veterans, allegedly charging 10 to 20% of retro pay. So even the OIG is picking up on this when they do their investigations, that VA employees are out there charging veterans for their claims while they're potentially getting denied. This employee, according to OIG, was terminated in January of 2025 and was sentenced to, prison and home confinement, probation, and restitution to the victims. We also have this issue that we've talked about a little bit too, this production over accuracy issue that has come up over the year. In a congressional statement, VA OIG describes substantiating a hotline allegation that a senior BSR in Philadelphia approved hundreds of rating decisions per day without required review. OIG cited an estimate that 84% of a sample of the employee's authorizations had at least one error and produced $2.2 million in improper payments. I wish I could tell you that was the only office that's probably happened in, but I would believe it's probably happened in others, just from experience. Because you get too relied on that production standard and you forget the mission and you forget the job and what you're there for. I feel, and things like this happen. But these are definitely things that will hinder our system as well as we try to smooth it out. So VA employees, please. It's the veteran you should be worried about, not the production standard. Just mentally follow the rules and guidelines appropriately, please. We've got other stuff in here. VA OIG's August 2025 report highlights describe a bribery corruption case involving cash payments totaling $80,000 in guilty pleas, including honest services, says honest services in it for fraud and bribery, with OIG reporting an overall loss to VA of about $3.7 million. So while some of these individuals are collecting money fraudulently in order to help with claims, or as a so-called help with claims, and file these fraudulent claims, the government is losing money, and if the government's losing money, I can only assume the taxpayers are too. So that's just doesn't sound really fair. We also have other things like misuse of a VA purchase card by an employee. That was a medical center in Cleveland. You had that one, theft of VA equipment for resale. Yeah, this one in its statement to Congress, VA OIG highlighted a former VA inventory management specialist who stole dental equipment intended for a new clinic and sold it online. OIG reported losses greater than $353,000 and then a guilty plea of theft of government property by the employee. False documentation in VA medical records was found by the VA OIG as well in October 2025. A report highlighted a VA nurse made false entries in VA's medical record system, claiming she observed a patient when evidence showed she did not. I think there's some concern, at least on my side too, of that too, because I hear that from veterans a lot too, especially when we go to VA exams. These exams come back saying they observed stuff or certain things were done or asked, and veterans are like, no, that didn't happen. So watch out for that too. That's definitely going to hinder our system as well. But I just wanted to highlight some of these stories because with all this going on, this was just some stuff from 2025. This wasn't everything, but this stuff, again, I can't reiterate enough how it hinders the process. And if we fall into this trap of allowing the process to be hindered, we'll never have a smooth system, in my mind. So be on the lookout for this. And I feel our government is thinking along the same lines as the House of Representatives have proposed back in February of 2025 this year, HR 1663, also known as the Veterans Scam and Fraud Evasion Act of 2025. Now, as you probably just heard me say that this was proposed in 2025. This hasn't been voted on yet by the House. This is still going through a process. I believe it's on a calendar though. You can always follow this online too, publicly. I believe it's congress.gov. You can kind of see the process of this and see the actual text and everything too. But in short, what I want to share with everybody is, even though this hasn't been passed by the House, this is something that is still being worked on, and it kind of gives us a mindset of what our government wants to do to prevent a lot of this fraudulent activity here. Good or bad, I'll leave that decision up to you. I have my own opinions, but this is not my editorial, so I will leave that up to everybody out there. But there is the HR 1663, which is the act itself, in short, VSAFE Act. There's also a House report of 119-350 that is the Committee on Veterans Affairs report explaining the bill's purpose, need, legislative history, amendments considered, and cost estimate and so forth. But just a couple highlights from here. The idea that is coming from this proposal is to, well, codify a new position inside the VA, a Veterans Scam and Fraud Evasion Officer, responsible for VA-wide scam fraud prevention reporting and incident response, and serving as a central point of contact to direct veterans to resources to prevent and / mitigate scams. As I went through this in short here, let me just really sum it up. There was a little confusion maybe in here. It sounded like the original idea was to promote a VA employee of sorts into this role. It did not seem that the original thought was to increase the FTE authorized, the full-time employees. So if you're not, in my experience, you're not going to increase the FTE, or you're not going to add an increase that while making a new position. Ultimately, you're how does that saying go? Robbing Peter to pay Paul. Good or bad, I'll leave that up to you. But ultimately, you're promoting somebody up, and we have to ask: is this person qualified? Who determines who are qualified? Are they going to be one of our individuals in our court cases here, or are they going to be in that OIG report? I don't know. Maybe they'll be the most honest person we can find, but the bill doesn't really talk about how they're going to determine that. The other thing in here I noted was they would still give a small team. It looked like maybe 3-4 people, but it was kind of confusing as well because they wanted to build a hotline again. The idea of another hotline and just another person in the middle, coordinating ultimately between the agencies and the groups and the offices that already exist inside the VA to battle fraud, which, well, may not be going so well. Ultimately, the bill would put this person in a position. It would, even though there's no FTE increase, it sounded like there would be somehow some additional money spent, maybe on these additional employees that create this team. And it looked like this would increase the budget upwards to, I want to say it's an additional $4 million from what's already being spent. So a total of 12 million. And I apologize for not having my note ready on that one, but as I recall, that was a concern as well in here. So there was a lot of other stuff in here, but just to understand, this is our government's reaction so far. Don't know when this will take effect, if it will all take effect at all. Like I said, there's still been no vote by the House, and after the House, it's got to go to the Senate and finish its path through our system. But understand the benefit of this and the good side of this, the positive side of this is that the government recognizes there is fraud that is challenging the system. It is becoming too much. Well, I think one fraud is too much, but it's definitely overbearing. They're trying to take some sort of action, good or bad. Again, I'll leave that up to you, with the idea of adding in another potential person or team to coordinate between the agencies, the departments, the offices that already exist, and to build a hotline that veterans can call, or anybody can call, it sounds like. So there you go, everybody. So that's my fraud point of view of everything for the whole year. I just wanted to show that this is something that's been happening all year long. Felt it was a good topic to end the year with, because it is something that has been happening all year long. Like I said, this is a good demonstration of how the internal and external, say even fraud or other issues come in play that make the process harder. And these have provided challenges for veterans, for VA, for representatives like myself as well, when we're trying to win claims. So when I read a lot of this stuff, I will admit that it does make me wonder, for the number of VA employees who are charging veterans to get approvals on claims, how many of them may have been denying some of our claims back here inappropriately just to be able to do so. It's just a challenge to wonder, and I don't know, and I'll probably never know for sure. So I do ask VA very politely again, please remember the rules, the laws, what you're there for, the mission, not the production point, and not to take the money from the veterans. Veterans understand accredited representative. We are working within the law. We are bound by rules of the law, and our work is heavily scrutinized and monitored for what we do. So make sure that's who you're going to go with for representation, that's who you actually go with. Not somebody out there who's claiming not to be a claim shark while claiming to be a claim shark or being a claim shark. Look at their websites, do the additional research. They will tell you, because they have to, that they're not VA accredited in order to mitigate some of their issues there. Yeah, without me getting on a bigger soapbox there, thank you for a great year, veterans. I'm happy to serve you. As a veteran myself, I'm happy to continue assisting my brothers and sisters in arms. It's been an honor for me to work with the VA from when I did to step out of the VA and continue doing it on the outside of the VA and help inward now. I just can't express enough how rewarding it has been. Do we win every case? Unfortunately not. Some are just much more complicated and we'll take on a lot of those complex claims. But it's the idea that we were able to do something in the end, and if we couldn't, what we really did do was find another representation or somehow find closure to that claim in the process. But we are very successful at what we do, so most of the time it's just that sharing that moment with veterans whose lives just got changed because, well, the VA did the job correctly. The VA heard the veteran for the first time, perhaps, and, well, we were there to represent them. See, there I am, still in a soapbox. Veterans, I love you like brothers and sisters, being part of the community. So I thank you again for that opportunity to continue to serve you. I look forward into 2026 to continue to do as much and serve even more of you in the process. One thing I'm going to throw out there is we'll be looking at individuals who may have already received some medical evidence, say DBQs, nexus letters, or independent medical opinions from your private provider who are having trouble with the VA granting those claims when all that evidence is online. We want to focus there starting the next year because I hear that that's a big problem that veterans are having. And in doing so, reach out to us and ask me about our low fee on that one and our setup there. I would like to potentially lower my fee if I can, veterans, for you. But remember, I got to keep my lights on here too to help all you. So reach out. If you've got a DBQ, you've got some medical evidence, you got an independent medical opinion, and VA is still denying you, let us look at it and see what we can do to bring that cost down for you as well. Okay. Thank you so much. I'll see you next year. It'll be exciting. I can't wait. Thank you again, everyone.